Time goes by, years and decades. She comes, she goes, but her story remains so. She is you, I, and the others. She belongs to herself and not another. She is whole, complete, and absolute, for she is resolute.
Hello and welcome to She is Resolute. I'm your host, Suvarna, and our endeavor on this show is to showcase conversations of grit and growth for the determined modern woman willing to take complete ownership of her life and her mindset. Our attempt is to bring to the fore actionable information on personal development through discussions with experts and personalities who have, in one way or another, proven that they too are resolute. Enjoy the episode and please do like, share, and subscribe. One of the things that intensifies the profoundness of the human experience are the times that we are challenged or going through a phase in our life that is difficult. Don't get me wrong, the highs of life are totally worth savoring. But it's the time that we're down that truly gives us the opportunity to reflect and take action that propels us further. Our guest today is a beautiful example of a human being who turned a challenging personal difficulty into an empowering and creative outlet for not just herself, but for thousands of others. I'm so happy to have with us today Bridget Moore, a Los Angeles-based artist and designer, known by her venture, Handsome Girl Designs, which focuses on digital illustrations around intersectional feminism, body positivity, and female empowerment. She started designing as a therapeutic outlet for her own eating disorder, which she worked through for over 15 years. And drawing was a way to celebrate the beauty of her own body and other women's bodies by, in her own words, celebrating all the different shapes, shades, and experiences that beauty can come in. Today, Handsome Girl Designs includes fundamental elements that help women through their journey to practice radical self-love and appreciation for all the diverse beauty in this world. Bridget, thank you so much for chatting with me today, and welcome to She is Resolute.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here.
Likewise, and I'm going to jump right into the questions because I'm really excited to have this conversation with you.
Yeah, let's do
it. So I'm curious to learn about your journey, from coping with an eating disorder for nearly 15 years, and today having an empowering association with body image. I would love to hear your views about that.
Yeah, so I unfortunately, like so many women and men, I had a experience when I was a child that really triggered my lack of confidence around my body. And it was like such a small moment. I was at a birthday party when I was like 6th grade, and I went to go get like a third slice of pizza, and the woman whose son's birthday it was patted me on the stomach and told me I had enough. And it is something I guarantee, she was not malicious about it. And I guarantee it was something that she has never thought about again after that moment. But it impacted me in such a way that, it changed my entire life course. And from that moment, I was very attuned to how people were viewing my body. It started not so much of like how I view it. It was a true fear how other people were seeing me. And that's when I started like making up, these scenarios in my head of like, I need to lose weight. I can only have this for lunch. And it's mind-boggling for a child to be able to come to those conclusions and create those actions to kind of live by, and like this weird set of what I felt was moral discipline. I created this code of conduct. And additionally, I think being so young, struggling with this, no one really knew how to react to it. I was very secretive about it. And I think my family, even though they're incredibly loving, they just didn't know how to handle it. So we just kind of carried on life as usual. And I got away with it, so I carried these tendencies and this quote unquote code of conduct that I created for myself all through high school, through my 20s and so on. Even today, I still kind of struggle with those kinds of thoughts. But when I tried to get out of this like vicious cycle so many times, there would be moments where I'm like, okay, this is the last time I'm going to be acting like this. And I would just return back to it. And it wasn't until when I was 28 that it really, something clicked where it's like, I don't want this to control my life anymore. This was like the biggest part of my life for so long. And I built relationships around it, friends and lovers. Every social situation was built around it. The way I operated at work was built around it. It was like the center of my universe. And I kind of found the idea of like journaling and that kind of stuff not really something that resonated with me. So that's when I started doodling. I started doodling what I wanted my body to look like, because on the paper, I could change the way my hips looked. I could change that, I didn't have broad shoulders. And somehow it kind of gave me this weird empowerment of like, I was kind of shifting the way that I viewed myself on paper. And then slowly but surely, I started not changing my hips when I drew myself. I started not changing my shoulders and seeing it lay out, being like, wow, that's actually a pretty good looking person. And when I kind of discovered that, I was like, well, damn, like, I feel like other people should see how beautiful they are on paper, because it's so much different than looking in the mirror. Like you kind of see this beauty that somebody else was like so struck by. And to look at it, you're just like, wow, actually, I do look pretty good. And, that's kind of like how it started, because I wanted essentially no one to ever feel the way that I felt about my body. And I think that is what really does kind of carry on of like showing people how beautiful they are just as is. I mean, like your background, your experience, everything that you do with your body makes you. It's not fitting into like this mold that we all want to be look a certain way. And I think that should be celebrated.
I love what you said. I have goosebumps, and I can totally resonate because thankfully I grew up in a time when I didn't have Instagram. But despite that, I too have struggled from a lot of body image issues. I was a tall kid, so I was plump. And even at the age of 13, I felt really bad about myself. And I carried that up until my 20s. And I always overcompensated with over exercising. And to this date, I have to really check myself when I'm in the gym to not push more than I'm supposed to push and to respect my body. And it's something that I feel a lot of women who I've spoken with have carried that through their teens and through their 20s and even through their 30s. And what you've said is so beautiful. You've taken it, you've elevated it. You've not just understood it for yourself, you're helping other people do that. I appreciate that so much. Like for me, thankfully, it was not something I couldn't do what you did. I couldn't help other people. But at least I have today, I can say with a lot of certainty that I have that security in myself that, okay, I am human. I'm going to change. My body will change through different phases of my life. I can't keep killing myself over it. I can't keep hating on myself over it. So I love what you said. And on that note, I would like to ask you, what advice would you like to give to young girls who may be struggling from an eating disorder?
I think be kind to yourself. The end goal is to get better, not necessarily cure yourself. This is not life. And these types of things is not a linear process. You just have to take it little by little, and you do get better. Every day, You just show up to try to be your best self. And if you still have the thoughts or if you have certain actions, that doesn't mean that, you know, you're doing something wrong or you're failing. And I think that's the key. Don't let those things set you back. You know, you can always stumble backwards, but as long as the next day you pick up and go forward again, it still counts as progress.
100%. And there's now even science, even I recently learned about the fact that eating disorders or body image could possibly be genetic also. So a lot of things which we tend to beat ourselves up over, and even the society that we live in India, there's a lot of taboo around anything that's related to psychology. And with women's psychology, it's even more taboo. So if somebody has an eating disorder, it'll be very difficult for somebody to, for a young girl to go and tell her parents that, you know, I'm probably struggling from an eating disorder, because automatically the mindset will be to, you know, say that there's something wrong with her.
Yeah.
And, you know, and there is a scientific basis. There's an incredible podcast which said that, and the scientists said that despite Instagram being one of the reasons of women having body image issues, it's not the only issue. A very big factor for women having eating disorders is genetic. And that in and of itself should be linked to other genetic issues also that a human being can have. So why, you know, put this in a taboo category? So I 100% agree with you. Another, another thing that women particularly struggle with is body image issues. And what are your personal tips to women for positive acceptance and to, you know, empower themselves?
I mean, I think it goes back to speaking to yourself with kindness. I mean, the idea of when you wake up, what if you said thank you to your body instead of being like, all right, I got to hit the gym and I got to change you. You know, it could be something as simple as that, because if you think back, like your body has carried you to your best friend's house, to a really fun party you went to, a beach day, you know, those things are possible because of your body. And like, they might seem so small to think about, but keeping those little thoughts in your mind really do help shift the way you feel and view your body. And I think another way is also surrounding yourself with people that, you know, aren't doing these, like, I don't want to say negative actions, but aren't really diving in and like partaking in the societal norms, like diets, skinny teas, like that kind of stuff. You know, if you have people in your circle partaking in that, that can have an effect on you too. So you really have to audit and take an inventory of who you surround you with. What are their viewpoints? You know, because if you start to integrate in your circle people that have more of a positive relationship with their bodies and their images and the way they carry themselves or the way they want to treat themselves, that will also start to reflect in yourself.
I completely agree. I mean, two such key points that can absolutely be life-changing. Just getting up and saying thank you to your body can be really, really life-changing. So thank you for that. I'm going to start doing that. And also tribe. Yes, it matters what your tribe is. It matters when you surround yourself with people who love you and who appreciate you for who you are. That too can be very nourishing for your body and your soul. So I agree with you 100%.
Yeah. And I saw once, like, I don't know if it was like a meme or something, but it struck me really, really hardly that, let's say at your funeral, nobody's going to put, wow, what a great six-pack they had in your eulogy. You know, like those aren't the things that people love you for.
Yeah. And remember you by. I agree.
Yeah.
I want to come to your designs now. I love your designs. I've been exploring your page and I've been going deeper into it. And your designs convey such powerful messages, you know, on how society expects women to be modest or to conform to patriarchal moral codes. what inspired you to focus on this theme in your work?
I think it was really, I grew up in a, like I said, a loving household, but one that we didn't show off. You were very covered. We didn't really speak about our bodies or sexuality or any of that stuff. And I think when I started to really dive into my recovery, I realized that was a big part of what was holding me back into really loving my body. I felt very uncomfortable about myself sexually, or even speaking about those things or showing off my body. Yeah. So once I started to kind of explore, I grew this comfort with myself that was extremely powerful. I mean, to the point of like just wearing a sports bra when I went for a run versus like sports bra, tank top, t-shirt over it, of like, showing off a little bit of my body, even when I didn't feel that comfortable with it, it really started to really rewrite the narrative of how I felt about myself. So I was like, wow, exploring a little bit of this side like made such a huge shift. And if other people tried it, it's not for everyone. I'm not saying like go on and like take your shirt off to everyone, but for some people, it could be something worth exploring because it can be extremely empowering and it can have such a deep effect on you. So I think that's like kind of that's what I want to show people, that you can have fun with it. It doesn't have to be something that's so serious or, that you'll get like a finger shook at you if you try it out.
Yeah, and your work reflects that it's very empowering, and at the same time, it's not offensive. It's literally something that can give another person. It's if you're thinking it, you sort of put it into a beautiful illustration, which a lot of people, when they think those things, but they're unable to express it, and you've been able to beautifully express that through your illustrations. And what you said is probably not just culturally, this is probably going to be something that a lot of women go through. I'm privileged to be in a city in India where, at least in some parts of New Delhi, I can wear what I want to wear. Mm-hmm. But even then, there are times when if I like something, I feel shame, which is so odd, right? You feel good about what you're wearing. You feel good about the fact that, oh, I like what I'm wearing. But then the moment you go out and you have the gaze upon you, you're automatically feeling ashamed. And it's such a strange, situation.
I think that comes like to the sexualization of it, because I've had partners in the past of like, let's say I wore a deep V-neck dress that was like a little revealing. I was met with like, well, who are you trying to show off to? And it's like, well, actually, because I just thought this was like a pretty outfit. Like I wasn't even thinking about, the quote unquote male gaze of like, I'm not dressing for them. Yeah. And I think that's where this kind of like little bit of a sense of shame that grows within us, because it's like, okay, so I'm doing this because I want to be provocative for other people. And it's like, it kind of gives you this weird confusion of like, wait, what? Okay, no, now I feel like kind of weird.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I'm glad that, your illustrations, and I urge all the people who are watching this to please go and see Bridget's illustrations, because they're so empowering. And I saw several and I resonated with them, so deeply. But there's another important subject now that we're talking about your illustrations and your Instagram page. They focus on the importance of self-worth. And some of the major core issues of women, like body image, fear of being judged, fear of being outspoken, constantly apologizing for no reason, tend to somewhere stem from low self-worth. How did you come about including this theme of work, this subject matter in your art, and why do you think this was important?
I include it because it's something that I deeply struggle with. I feel that thousands and thousands of dollars of therapy, and I still struggle with it, that I constantly seek validation for my worth from outside sources, partners, jobs, people on Instagram reacting to my work. And, it is something that the only thing that will truly confirm it is you. But we live in such a place where we are so dependent on the approval of others. So it's something that is like, man, we have been taught, maybe not like literally taught, but like subliminally and in a visceral way taught, like our worth is dependent on others. Like, are we loved? Do we have a husband or a wife or a long-term partner? Can we get in high-paying jobs? Like, all of these things are somehow ranked so highly for us, rather than I'm healthy, I have my needs met, and I do have a circle of people that love me. That shows that you are such a worthy person, just your basic needs being met.
Absolutely.
So I think it's very important to continually remind people of it, because every day is different. Like, I can feel awesome today, and then tomorrow I might not want to get out of bed because like I can't find a date or something like that. Something so silly can have like these crazy effects on me. So I think it's really important to always remind each other, like, there's nothing external that's going to validate your worth. That is truly within you.
Yeah. And the second guessing is exhausting, right? Because it sort of permeates through every aspect of your life. I mean, I've been a practicing lawyer for nearly 9 years now. And I can say with a certain bit of confidence that I have now started not to second guess myself. Some of it I can say that is a result of the environment, because in my profession in India, if you're not a male and if you've not got a certain amount of experience under your belt, you're not taken seriously. And if you look a certain way, you're automatically put under a certain box. So it's taken some time for me also to be very sure about what I'm saying and to not second guess myself.
Yeah.
And even in other aspects, whether it's even conversations with loved ones, sometimes can be very exhausting because of the amount of second guessing you're doing then. So yeah, the core of all of this does come from self-worth, and it does come from a sense of believing in yourself. And I love that, you focus on that sort of work. And I love that, that's the message that you want to put out. And now, since we're talking about your work, history has witnessed that formidable women with a strong voice are often opposed by people who are intimidated or uncomfortable. And since the messages that you convey through your art are powerful and compelling, do you have haters online, and how do you deal with them if you do?
Yes, I have so many. I think I wake up with, people every day having something to say of how I am misled, or I'm a slut, or how are you promoting obesity? Like, you're part of the problem. And I'm like, okay, if that's what helps you sleep at night, saying these things, have at it. Sometimes they do get to me when it's something, where people say that I'm part of a problem with, like, especially with around obesity, because I am not a doctor. I don't give medical advice. I don't ever talk about specifics around health or any of that stuff. But I really talk about how it's not our business. Somebody's health status, is not viewable for all people. Right. Sure. I'm not going to argue with anyone saying, like, there are some things that you can look at a person and kind of diagnose yourself. But right. I guess the real question is, why are you diagnosing them? like that's actually just judgment at that
Right.
point. So that those things really do get to me because it hurts me down to my bones that there are people that this is just what they do. They think it's right. They think it's right to judge people. They think it's their right to judge people or dictate what health is and, swerve out of their lane, so to speak. And those types of people are kind of what continue to drive these troubles that women and, even some men or all genders really that struggle with body images, because they're out there forming their opinions loudly and they do it enough where you start to question, like, maybe they're the ones that are right. Maybe I am not healthy or this and that. Once in a while, I'll like fire back with my haters, but I tried not to really engage with them. I kind of let their ignorance fall flat on my page. I always do go through and read everything, and I'll always delete something that I find is highly offensive or it could be triggering. But if it's something that's like in a bit of a gray area, I'm like, you know what, this deserves to be in a Hall of Fame, memorialized online, that you can go back to one day and be like, wow, I can't believe that I said that.
I admire you so much. I've just started to put myself out on social media, and the kind of hateful comments that you were talking about, if I were to face that, I don't know how I would deal with it. So it takes tremendous amount of courage to be able to continue to spread the positive message and just let your work speak for itself. I love that. And when you spoke about people commenting about health, again, like you said, is not something that you can visually perceive. There's a nuance between body positivity and health. There's a difference between the two subject matters. So people shouldn't really confuse the two, because a person who looks thin may not be healthy, and a person who looks not according to the societal norms of what thin is may be perfectly healthy. So It's nobody's business to comment about health. And the fact that you just respond with your work is so admirable. That's something that I'm going to learn from you, and I'm going to be taking guidance from you.
And I think another part of it too is like people basing health off of just purely physicalities is awful, because like just doing that is, you're actually just now taking mental health out of the full equation, which is, sure, on paper, somebody could have all the vitals of a healthy person, but they could be struggling with some sort of mental disorder, illness, behavioral problems, which impact your overall wellness significantly. So to just kind of discount those things out of the equation, like that, I find to be highly ignorant of people that are not even open-minded to accept that as part of overall health.
Yeah. And there's so much reinforcement of how a woman should look or what attractiveness is, that when people like you also reinforce a nuance and talk about women of all shapes, sizes, colors, that message and reinforcement of that message is so important, because you have a sense of relatability then, because there are a lot of times when you're not going to relate to somebody who quote unquote is attractive according to Instagram. So I love that. I really love that. And I admire the work that you and other women do in this aspect of, at least telling people that what you're seeing online is not real, and, loving yourself is what one should prioritize. Because at the end of the day, every day when you wake up and you love yourself, I think that can be the most beautiful human experience that people can go through. Yeah. And teenage girls struggle with that. I've been there. I've spent years hating myself. And, it can be incredibly empowering and like a beautiful emotion to just wake up and be, at peace with yourself and, love yourself. So that's an amazing message. Thank you for doing that. And this is a question that I ask all my guests. What, according to you, does it take to be a resolute woman?
I think authenticity and the drive to not only better yourself, but leave a lasting impact on those around you, because that is where the true change lies.
I love that. I love that. I'm all for that. That's, you just spoke about a sense of purpose. I think that's the highest form of being human, because you start to think outside of yourself. And when we get there, that's like the highest sense of living. So I love that. And thank you so much for coming on the show. I appreciate you. I appreciate the work
It
that
was
you
my
do.
pleasure.
So keep inspiring and stay resolute, Bridget. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
I hope you liked this episode. For more content to empower your mindset, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and do share this with resolute women in your life. Take care and bye bye.